Welcome to the Run Strong Run podcast, where I amplify inspiring voices from the back of the pack and loudly proclaim all runners count. Without further ado, here's this week's inspiring runner. I am so excited and so honored that on today's episode, I have Sandra. Big Fit I Run is her Instagram handle. That's kind of how I call her, Sandra Big Fit I Run. I had the honor and the privilege of meeting her in person at the Seattle Marathon in November of 2023. And let me tell you, it was just like a highlight weekend for me. I mean, it's just seeing her in person for the first time. I ran up and literally like screamed and told her I was totally fangirling. I'm sure you're like that too. If you're already a fan of hers, and if not, you need to check her out because again, she's so inspirational and so motivating. So I said, Sandra, I want to have you on this podcast. And she said, yes, Stephanie, let's do it. So without further ado, Sandra, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I feel exactly the same about you. And when I saw you the first time in Seattle, because we had been Instagram friends for a while, it was a little bit surreal. So I totally feel the same vibes. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on launching your podcast. That's incredible.
Well, thank you. And you have inspired me because we've been following one another for a while now.
Yeah.
And you too, seeing your progression. And now that you have a magazine, which we're going to talk all about all the things, about all the amazing things you're doing, but having a magazine truly like inspiring others to say, you are a runner, and a runner doesn't have one certain body type. It's not one certain person. Like if you run, you are a runner. So you have your magazine. Now you have some buffs and bandanas, which I ordered myself a buff, and I have the bandana. I should have it right now in the background. What was I thinking? But I mean, just everything you're doing for the running community and for others is just so inspiring. So tell us, Sandra, kind of your journey of what first got you started.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know really what first got me started other than initially the desire to want to be fit and active 6 years ago and try and tackle some of the mental blockage that I had and that so many people probably experience as well, was something that just kept me, you know, striving to be active, striving to be constantly moving. And that progressed into finally the first time ever going outside for a run in March of 2018. Like, first time ever in my adult life going outside for a run on March 18th, 2018. I remember the day. I had up until that point been hiding in my basement on my treadmill and doing like workouts in the basement from home. And did that for about 6 months before I went on this run outside. And then I went outside and ran 7 kilometers and came back. And I felt like a completely different person. And then when I came back, and literally that moment signed up for 5 races locally here in Kelowna, that was it. I was like, I now identify as a runner. I go big or go home, right? Like, there is something about a runner's personality that is completely obsessive, and I love it. Like, I love the obsession, because that's what keeps all of us coming back. But yeah, 2018 was like that first year of me running like some local small races. And also 2018 was my first Seattle Marathon. Yeah, I live about 6 hours from Seattle, so me and my family drove down to Seattle, and for whatever reason, that first year I was like, I'm going to do a marathon this year. And that's kind of how it all started. And then as you immerse yourself into the whole running community, if you curate your Instagram feed, or whichever social media platform you are on, to only being whatever you want your identity to align to, that's what will show up on your page. So for me, that whole year, it was just running, running, running content. And then this word streak kind of showed up, and I started following some people who did have a streak. And typically the definition of a streak, according to Runner's World, is 1 mile of running every day. And I thought, there's going to be days that I don't feel like running, or else maybe I had just had a race the day before. So maybe the next day I don't want to run, especially in that very beginning when I was just starting out and just really getting my body used to running. I thought I can walk. And so I won't do 1 mile, I'll do 5 kilometers. And on January 1st, 2019, that's how the 5 kilometer streak was born. And January 1st, 2024, I just passed 5 years. So that's me in a nutshell. And, from there, when you start doing something that is completely different to what you've been doing before, you will start to get different results. If you never do anything different from what you've been doing before, you'll always get the same results. So the fact that I changed my life in this way, started doing something different, gave me different results. And then I thought, well, if I can run, what else can I do? Not most people, the top of their mind is not going to be publish a magazine. That's what most people are not going to do. But you never know unless you actually try. Like for you, you're starting a podcast. Did you think 4 years ago that you'd start a podcast? Probably not. Maybe you did. I don't know. But usually these absolutely insane visions of us doing something are as a result of insane activities we've completed over and over and over and over again that have built our confidence. And that's what running does in a nutshell. Running literally builds your confidence.
Yes, absolutely. That's an interesting topic that I want to touch upon for a moment because I've had some people reach out to me and they have said that they struggle with their confidence with running. And I do believe that success breeds confidence. So when you sign up for that race and you cross that finish line, like you can't help but feel that confidence build in you. Like I just did that. Like I can do hard things. Like what else can I do? So what advice, Sandra, do you have for someone that feels like that they're struggling with that confidence, wondering like, can they do that 5K? Can they do that 10K half or marathon?
I think that the only thing that separates us from the people who wish they could start is just starting.
Mm.
So if you don't start, you actually then can't cross that bridge to the other side where we are right now because you just haven't taken that step to start. And then even when you're halfway on the bridge, you have to keep starting every day in order to continue to the other side of the bridge where the confidence lies. So every day is a start. And that's why I never plan. I mean, obviously I just signed, like, I don't mean I never plan anything because that's kind of silly to say. I just signed up for a 100-kilometer race. So I guess I am planning to finish that in October. So that is a plan. But what I want to say is I don't plan too much because today is all that matters. Today, me completing my 5K, that's all that matters. Now, every day that I do that, that's what leads to those events that I can say I'm signing up for, that I can say I will complete this because of all the previous actions I've taken to get me to the confidence that I have today.
I love that. Absolutely. And oh my goodness. Okay. So you just signed up for 100-kilometer race, which that is so inspiring. I want to be you when I grow up. I mean, seriously, I love this. So again, March of 2018, were you running before that? I know that was your first outside run, but no, so you weren't really, or
No, prior to March, I bought my used treadmill on Marketplace in September of 2017. And I put it downstairs in the basement and I started walking on it. So that's about 6 months of walking and running indoors, watching the random shows, random documentaries, and just building up that confidence again to be able to do something else. And that's why, like, consistency is such an underrated word. They talk about motivation and, you need to be motivated and you need to have goals, but it's consistency. It's the consistent act of repetitively doing something over and over and over again that actually gets you to that spot. It's not motivation, because motivation is fleeting.
Absolutely. Yes, that consistency piece which you're showing and you're proving by consistently showing up for those daily 5Ks. And that's what people ask is, within the last like 5 months, I've been working out 6 days a week. Three of those, really almost every day is 5 a.m. And so it means my alarm goes off at 4:30. And so people ask me, well, what's the motivation to get up in the morning? And I'm going to tell you, getting out of bed, that's like the hardest part.
Yeah.
Getting out of bed. I mean, it would be so easy for me just to roll back over and go to sleep. But it's that consistent act, because even on my like off days when I'm not getting up, my body just now naturally wakes up at that 4:30 time, because it's that consistent act of making that choice of starting every day. I love that what you said, and that analogy of the bridge, and like how, yes, even in the middle point, you still have to start to then get over the bridge for where that confidence lies. I love that. Okay, so 2017, you're walking on the treadmill. March of 2018, you run outside and immediately you sign up for 5 races. And now here we are, 2018 to 2024, and you're doing 100-kilometer race. Okay, so what prompted that decision to sign up for a 100-kilometer race?
Well, the when you start hanging around with people, you find your people, and then your people have these big ideas that sometimes you talk about while you're on these like 4 and 5 hour runs while you're training for your marathon. And then these people start to throw around these big ideas, and then you start to agree with them because your endorphins are going super, super fast, and your dopamine, you're constantly hitting dopamine while you're in these training sessions, and you basically agree to whatever this other person is throwing at you. And then you leave that spot where you just finished your training, and then this person is like, hey, remember we talked about Javelin 100, right? Like, we're signing up. And you're like, oh my God, did I really agree to that? And that's how this stuff happens.
Yes,
Truly, it's very dangerous to have these ideas rolling through your head while you're out on running sessions, because honestly, they will come to fruition. They're no joke. They're not, you just don't throw around whatever stuff you want to throw around in your mind while you're out running, because it's dangerous. And that's how these things happen. And then you start to tell other people that, hey, we're doing this 100K, and then two more people sign up. So now there's four, and then who knows how many more others. But yeah, that's the kind of what's that called when when a disease is, oh, that's contagion. This is how contagion happens. But this is a good contagion. A good contagious thing to have is the audacity to believe that you can do anything in the body that you have. And that's what I want everybody to believe when they visit my page or when they visit my website or when they read my magazine, is I want them to have audacity to say that I'm going to do something because I can, and to carry it through.
Mm, yes, absolutely. So I love that so much. I love, Sandra, that you are promoting again that a runner does not look like one type of person, because I think that's often what holds us back. I know I've been there myself too, where I'm like, oh, well, but I don't have a runner's body. So what advice would you give to that person who maybe they're at in their basement, they're on their treadmill, they are filled with this fear and anxiety about going outside to run, about showing up to that race because they fear that they don't look like everyone else?
So there is no easy way out of that dilemma. And by that, I mean that you actually have to keep doing the thing that you think is the hardest thing to do to get away from the mindset that is the hardest that you have. So you want to become a runner. You're already a runner, even before you became a runner. That's the first thing. The second thing is you now need to prove to your nervous system that you are a runner by doing the thing that you want to identify as, right? So, and then to do the thing that you want to identify as, you have to have the courage to do it. So there's no way around not showing up. There is no way around putting on your sneakers and going out for a run, walk, run, whatever. There's no way around it. So the more times that you do that, the more ticks that you can tick off inside your body and tell your nervous system, calm the F down. I am a runner. You don't need to protect me from anything. There is no danger coming my way. No one is going to shame me. I am a runner. And if you do that today and repeat it tomorrow and keep doing it and keep doing it, you will soon identify as that person that you have set out to identify as.
So good, Sandra. I love that phrase too, saying you were a runner before you even called yourself a runner, before you even started the act of running, like you were a runner. So when you think about that with yourself, like even prior to 2017, getting that treadmill and starting to walk, like you were at that moment an ultra marathoner. Like you already have done what,
Yep.
250Ks?
Yes, 250Ks. This was my sixth marathon. I mean, I'm talking to the lady who's done over 30, so like this is humble bragging compared to, 30 something marathons that you've done. But we are all athletic. We are all athletic. But what society does to people, unfortunately, because it can profit off of our insecurities, is that it makes people not believe that what they were naturally built to do, they're not until they do this thing. But that's so false because we are naturally athletic. We are naturally born to run. We have 2 feet, we can run. Our muscles hold up our bones and we have coordination. But somewhere along the line, somebody told us, you're not that person till you look like this or until you do this at this speed. And that's the myth that I want to smash because it's not true. It's so not true. Now, if I can walk, hike through 50 kilometers of 6,000 feet of elevation over 15 hours at 260 pounds, then you sure as heck can run a 5K that has no elevation and is flat as a board for 1 hour. You can do that. But
Yes.
it's what's been ingrained in our brain, and it's been ingrained that way because it suits a narrative where then those people who don't believe what we believe seek out remedies that they have to pay for so that they can try and fit back into this hole or this circle, but they don't need to fit into a circle because they're a square. They can be their own freaking object and look exactly like what they look like. They're not a circle, a cylinder that needs to fit into that cylinder. They can be exactly any shape they want. They don't need to seek remedies outside that they're going to have to pay for. They can do exactly what they were already meant to do.
Yes, absolutely. That one phrase just now where you said society profits off of our insecurities. And isn't that so true? I mean, we've recently hit this new year, and so I'm sure many people's feeds are bombarded with these messages of new year, new you, you need to lose weight and this and that. Also, I love what you said about athlete. And that word, I'll be honest with you, Sandra, yes, even though I have run over 30 full marathons, my trainer, who I just started with within the last 6 months, he recently said to me, "You're an incredible athlete." And that like struck me because it's sometimes difficult for me to even call myself an athlete, which I know that might be mind-boggling to people. I mean, I call myself a runner, but that word athlete just hit a little differently because I think Two, again, you're bombarded with these images of what an athlete looks like or what an athlete does. But let's remember that athletes do many different things. Athletes look many different ways. And so if you are going out and you're running a mile for the first time ever, you're an athlete, you're a runner. It doesn't matter the distance you go, you are a runner. It doesn't matter the pace you go, you are a runner. Um, so let's talk about, Sandra, shifting gears a little bit, of your go-to fuel, because often when we get into longer distances, like the marathon, we need to fuel our body. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand too with weight loss. I mean, I think people, they say, well, let's talk about you. You've run six full marathons, and now you've done 250Ks and are training now for 100K. So, and you proudly proclaim that you are 260 pounds. And so what do you say to those people who are like, well, how can you be 260 pounds and have done 6 full marathons?
Yeah, it's when I first started running, I had no idea about fuel, not one iota about it in 2018 and 2017, because it wasn't talked about really. When I think back to like 2017, 2018, fuel wasn't at the forefront. It was like pace, fartlek, speed work, etc. But fuel was not at the forefront. And my first 4 marathons that I ran, I did not use a training plan because I was too scared to, because my nervous system was so tied to the belief that anything that I start that is on piece of paper, black and white, I will not stick to it because I didn't have the practice of sticking to it. And I changed that 2 years ago when I used my first marathon training plan and actually fueled, and was blown away by the results. Not that I automatically became fast overnight. It was my body's ability to recover the next day and the day after, and then do 4 consecutive weeks of 21, 21, 25, 28, and 30-kilometer runs. So 13 miles, 13 miles, 15 miles, 17 miles, and 20 miles back to back, weekend after weekend, and be able to recover in 3 to 4 days to be able to then do another long run. That was the power of fueling. I was mind blown. So fueling is so important. Like it's probably 90% of the run, I would say, and the other 10% is mental. Well, maybe not like that percentage breakdown, but you know what I mean. It's a huge component. I would probably go like 40% fueling, 30% planning and also your long runs, and then 30% mental. I think I could stand behind that breakdown and support that and
Well,
fight tooth and nail over that. But yeah, fueling is so important. Like it's unreal. I fuel every 30 minutes with a fuel package, only because, and it also depends on the terrain. So, some people stick to 3 miles. Every 3 miles, they'll take a gel or a fuel, but not every 3 miles is the same. So 3 miles of uphill is not going to be the same as 3 miles of flat. So you have to adjust your fuel, to your body's output of energy.
yes. Well, and speaking of fuel, you would think that someone who's done, myself, over 30 full marathons, that I would be a little better prescribed and prepared with fuel. But we ran into, you saved me on our Seattle Marathon journey together, because I was underprepared with my fuel, and something occurred where on course there was no fuel on course, and you saved me. I think you gave me like a fig bar, and that was like the best tasting fig bar I've ever had before in my life. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I,
and that's unfortunate that happened. I really wish that hadn't happened, but sometimes you just never know with races. They can promise the moon, but sometimes they also don't know, like, are enough volunteers going to show up? Because those really are volunteers. Is somebody going to sneak past the table and grab 10 gels that, the volunteers really aren't going to go and stop them and say, hey, don't you do that. They do their best. They plan for what is that saying? Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. I think they do make a effort to do that, but you just never know. And so I made that mistake that happened to you in November, um, in 2022, because I thought there was going to be fueling, like it said, and thank goodness I brought 2 or 3 gels with me. But I mean, at that race that we were at in November, I had 12 fueling options that I brought with me because I calculated 2 per hour. And so we were out there for 6 hours. But again, I also could not have foreseen the hills that we had, because I didn't really look at the race map. I try not to look at the race map too much into detail because I find that that will not jinx me, but it will like preset, maybe some negative vibes. So I try not to look at the race map because I'm like, you know what? I can't change the race map, so why bother looking at it? But having those extra hills did make the energy consumption change and the energy output change of my race for sure. It completely affected me.
Well, yes, absolutely. And a marathon too, you just never know like our bodies how they're going to respond, and you sometimes get a little twinge or something happens and it really does impact your race. And I know that kind of happened to you too in the Seattle Marathon. It was something like your back or a rib, or what was it?
Yeah, it felt like a rib was out of place. Never happened to me before because I've done this course like 6 times. So the previous year I came in at 6:02, and then in November with you, it was 6:34. So the only thing that changed was the race course. But it is what it is. It's a learning experience, and I never go out there for time. I go out there to finish and cross the finish line. But yeah, I had this very strange poking feeling in the back of my right rib, and no matter how I stretched or how I configured myself, it just wouldn't go away. And I have a feeling that it happened from a couple of things. One was the ice on the road that I was trying not to slip on. So I was being extra cautious with those types of movements. And that ice was there for probably 2 to 3 hours in the beginning of the race with the fog. And then the hills too, right? Because you're constantly in this slant. You know, it's just it is what it is. And in the end it ended up being a beautiful race because the sun came out and we were surrounded by friends, and you know like those are small details.
Yes, I have the biggest smile on my face because just thinking and remembering that experience, it is one of my favorite marathon experiences, like getting to share this with you. And going back to your comment about the ice on the road and how long it was, I have a video of mile 17 and there's frost on the road at mile 17. And we're at that point, like 4+ hours into the race.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
was probably the coldest marathon I've ever run. I did not anticipate how cold it was going to be. I remember I had gloves on and hot hands in my gloves, and I had something over my ears. It was very cold. But around that mile 17 mark, that's when you get into the really hard part of a marathon, at least for myself and many others, where it becomes that mental aspect of
Yeah.
yes, you've just finished 17 miles and that's huge, but wow, you still have 9 miles left to go. And and this part of the Seattle Marathon is where we went around, is it Green Lake?
The
Is that
lake.
correct?
Yeah.
And it just got very quiet and it was very odd. I mean, quiet, yet there were like all these people around, like these random people who weren't a part of the race. And this marathon was very special because we came across another runner who was struggling and we kind of said, come on, join our group, because at that point it was yourself and Danielle and I running this marathon. And I think negative people want to say, oh, well, you weren't running because I saw you out there walking. No, 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 no. No, whether you run the whole thing or run walk intervals, regular intervals, or walk whenever needed, you ran a marathon. If you ran any part of that 26.2 miles, you ran the marathon. So never let anyone tell you differently. So yes, while we're out there running this marathon, those final miles were very special, because talk about like dig deep, and like that's where, again, talking about our confidence, that's where your confidence is built, and like who you are as a person, and like growing of your character. I think that's what keeps me coming back for more marathons, because it's in those very difficult points where you truly get to see, what am I made of? And it was just such an honor to see you like dig deep despite this pain, despite the hills. I mean, also we had like this huge hill at like mile like 23 or something. It was just like, seriously, where did this come from?
There's that saying, what goes up must come down. And I remember before we got to the Green Lake, going up that hill to go down into Green Lake, knowing that on our way back, we'd have to go back up that hill to get into downtown Seattle, to get to the Needle. And not to mention everything we had experienced in the first 10 to 13 miles of that race, and going through that greenery part, because that's where character is built. And that's where like you grow a set of balls, which is such a bad way of putting it, but that's where I don't know how else to put it, like where you get those kahunas, that bravery to be like, yeah, I'm signing up for this again, because this did not shoot me down. This didn't knock me off my feet. Because you're getting so many dopamine hits within that 26 miles. So not only are you getting dopamine hits, but you're also getting the other slaps too. But then the slaps are coupled with the dopamine. And somehow you're fighting. You're like, this is awful. I'm calling it quits. But then you're like, no, I can't believe I'm doing this, because then there's like this ray of sunshine that shines through the cloud. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then there's this fight. There's this inner fight between these two angels that are sitting on your shoulders. And somehow when you finish, you always end up winning. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to be back for more. And that's where that bravery is built, and that courage is built, and that confidence is built to come back again and do it all over again, knowing the audacity it takes to realize that I'm going to go through pain again in order to cross that finish line.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that what one person in my peace group said to me that has really stuck. And they said, expect the discomfort, or get comfortable in that discomfort. Like, so now that you're a 6-time marathoner and 2-time 50K finisher and signing up for this 100K, you know that during this 100K, there's going to be many moments of discomfort, many moments where you're wanting to call it quits, but you know that you have the balls it takes to reach that finish line, that you're not going to give up, that you're not going to call it quits, because of all that you've done in this past to build in you this confidence. And oh my goodness, I love that so much.
Like I remember when I signed up for the second 50K, the only thing that was going through my mind, because when I did the first 50K, that was in 2019. And so that was only 2 years into my journey, and I was still battling those inner demons that were trapped within my nervous system. And, as crazy as it sounds, I kind of wrote off that first 50K, and I was like, that was like a one and done thing. You're not really an ultra marathoner. And then when I signed up for the second 50K and started to do it, there was a message that I kept repeating in my head, and that was that I'm not a one and done. I'm not a one and done. And every single thing that I've done, including like publish the first magazine, because I thought, well, maybe I was lucky. And then it took me 6 months from the first magazine to the second to announce that I'm doing a second issue because I was battling with the one and done demon from the first issue. I almost had post like PTSD with, because people don't realize that you can actually have PTSD from your first marathon because you're finished it and you're like, what now? Like, what am I supposed to do now? What am I fighting for now? And so a lot of people don't realize that you can have this post traumatic kind of depression after a big event in your life because the big event is over. Now what? How do I identify as? What's my identity? Was it tied to that big event that everybody gave me kudos for? And so that's why that 50K was so important, the second one, because it was yet another notch on my belt, another tick on my box that I wasn't a one and done. And for some people, that box is not a 50K or a marathon or a half marathon. Maybe for some people, it's just showing up and lacing up. Your box that you tick daily can be anything you want it to be. It's your rules. You don't have to follow anybody else's rules. You know, your box that you tick is you're an amazing marathon pacer. And that for you is your box. For somebody else, it's 250 Cocodona, right? Cocodona 250 or Western States or whatever these races are, or Rocky Raccoon or the Chicago Marathon or all 6 majors. That's their box. But you just have to have a box you tick to grow that confidence, to be able to keep ticking boxes for yourself, because no one's going to tick them for you.
Yes, absolutely. But I think that's so true. I never really kind of had thought about it that way, about having a PTSD post marathon, but I definitely do have those post marathon blues. Like after the Seattle Marathon, that week after, I had another marathon. And then after that second marathon, within the span of just that 1 week, I was an emotional wreck. Like I went to work that next day on Monday and I cried like several times at work because it was just like a lot that I was processing. And I mean, like I was sad that it was over. I mean, it was just very emotionally draining. I think I underestimate sometimes the drain that it has on me of being like a marathon pacer, because yes, I'm running a marathon, and no matter what pace I'm pacing for a marathon, it's never easy. Like I hate it when someone sees me holding my 6-hour sign and they're like, oh, well, you got the easy pace. No, 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 make no mistake about it. No pace for 26.2 miles is ever easy. But I think too, after the Seattle Marathon, I paced the California International Marathon, and I had 20 plus people around with me the whole entire time. And I tried my hardest to get to know everyone's names, and I cheer for them on by name, like I'm talking almost the entire time. And I had my signature pacing sound. But yeah, I was an emotional wreck. So I think that what you just said is validating for myself to say that maybe next time I should take a day off of work to just process all of this and to give
Oh yeah.
myself a little time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. I always take a day off after the marathon, always, from work. But not to mention, not only do you have to process what you just went through, but you were seeping in so many people's energy. Like that's a lot to take in. And even for me, I wasn't pacing at Seattle, but I had never really run with a group of people. I've always been on my own. And then I decided, like, I don't even know what crossed my mind. I decided to carry a GoPro that day. And GoPros are not light. They're like 3 pounds, right? With the stick and the GoPro. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to carry this GoPro. So I was exerting energy there. And then I had my phone on my selfie stick, and I'm using that to try and post right to the stories. Like what we're doing is not normal. Most people run their race and that's it. They got blinders on. They might like nod here and there to somebody, but most people don't do what we do, where we carry with us equipment and we're like running and we're posting and you're carrying a stick and you're like talking to all these people. That is major energy exertion. Never mind being a pacer. I felt overwhelmed that day because anything that you change that's new in a race, you're like, I've never run with a pace group. What does that look like? Well, now I know. it's different. It's totally different. Usually I'm in control of my own race and I go the pace that I want to go. And if I want to walk the hills, I walk the hills. If I don't want to run the hills, I don't run the hills. But all of these things can change at a moment's notice, and they will change your race outcome. How they'll change it, you don't know until you finish. But there's so many variables to consider in a race. And not to mention, if you throw in the things that we do, you've got like a whole different race, right? It's not a typical race where you put your bib on, you put your little snack pack on, you got your water, and you just go. It's not. It's this is above and beyond. This is extra. We believe in being extra, and
Yes.
there's no shame in our game of being extra, okay?
Ah, yes, I absolutely love it. And it's very true. I love being extra, and especially love being extra with you. And I thought it was so fun. The day before the Seattle Marathon, we volunteered at the kids' marathon that they do. And we had some little extra time before the race started. And so we were like video recording. And I totally love that Lindsay captured some pictures of us, like influencers in the wild, of us like looking at our phone, looking at what we're going to be recording and stuff, and just having fun. But you're so right. Like during a marathon, like that makes a difference
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
what you're doing, and like and the energy that it's putting out.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes a difference on the outcome of it. It makes a huge difference on the outcome.
Yes. Well, your story is just so inspiring. So tell us, you're getting ready to bring out magazine. You've now put out 4 issues, is that correct? Or getting ready to put out the 4th?
I'm getting ready to put out the fourth.
Okay. Oh my goodness, Sandra. I mean, so you have the magazine, and I know you recently launched the bandana and the buff. You're training for 100K. What else do you have coming up?
Um, so issue 4 is coming out, yeah, I want to say March. I am organizing a retreat that is being held April 26th to the 30th in Dubrovnik, Croatia. Croatia is near Italy for those, that aren't really too familiar with it. You know how Italy has the boot? We're right behind the boot, and we share the Adriatic coast with Italy. So there is a half marathon that's taking place on April 28th, and I have put together this retreat, and it's called Restore, Run, and Release, the 3 Rs that will happen to an attendee if they attend this retreat. So that's April 26th to the 30th, and then I've got a couple of local races here in Kelowna and Vancouver, and then I'll just be focusing on training for my 7th Seattle Marathon and then the 100K. So the Seattle Marathon is December 1st, but the 100K happens October 25th. So they're about 5 weeks apart. So I'm gonna pull a Stephanie. Um, so yeah, it's geared up to be a good year. And then I hope this year that I can have 2 issues published, one in March and then one in the fall.
I love that so much. Oh my goodness, this retreat sounds amazing. And I just have to say too that it was the cutest thing. While we were together in Seattle, my mom texted me and she
Oh,
said, she said, Stephanie, a lady that I follow on Instagram named Sandra is there in Seattle. You should find her and take a picture with her. And we were together at the same time. And you and I recorded a video, and I texted it to my mom, and she just thought that was the best thing ever. So my hope is that December 1st, 2024, that I will be there in Seattle with you again. And I hope that I can bring my mom this time.
oh my gosh.
So my mom's name is Sandra, so it'll be the two
Yeah.
Sandras together. Um, I just want you to know, Sandra, that you are making a difference in so many, especially women's lives, and you've made a difference in my life. Getting to spend that weekend with you in Seattle was just so huge and pivotal. Your story is inspiring. The message that you are giving out into the world is so inspiring. Again, just thank you so much. And just know that I am like your biggest cheerleader, cheering you
Oh.
on. I wish I could be there with you in October, helping to pace you, even if it's just a couple of miles during the 100K. Just so inspiring. But I'm cheering you on from a distance. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you? They want to get your magazine, your buff bandana. They want more information about the retreat. Where can they find you?
So runyourlife.ca. So just www.runyourlife.ca is my website. And then through your Instagram and my Instagram, bigfit_I_run is my Instagram handle. And, that's pretty much it. And all the links to the magazine and the bandana and the buff are on the runyourlife.ca website.
I love that. Again, Sandra, thank you so much. And I will talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Stephanie, for having me on your podcast. And congratulations again for taking that huge leap. And I know it's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Run Strong Run podcast. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Run Strong Run or through my website at runstrongrun.com. You can support this podcast through a rating, review, or share. Until next time, run strong and run happy.